Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Power Forward podcast. I'm your host, Jackie Radica, a mindset coach and former Ivy League athlete, here to help student athletes, parents, and coaches focus on progress, not perfection. Every other week, we'll welcome a new guest with relevant experience to share their perspectives and tools to support growth on and off the field. When I think about what it means to be a great teammate, my next guest sits at the top of that list. Kind and generous, yet one of the fiercest competitors you'll ever meet, Leslie Robinson is a role model on and off the court. Leslie, welcome to the Power Forward podcast.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm so happy to be here. And it's amazing to see how you have created this entire platform and taken all the things that I've learned from you and seen you do and make and become and turn it into your own brand. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks. A little bit more about Leslie before we jump in. She grew up in Oregon with a college basketball coach dad. So she's been around the game since day one. And with an older brother in the house, she learned quickly how to hold her own. She went on to follow in her father's footsteps by breaking records and gaining recognition at Princeton University, including recording the first triple-double in program history. Leslie was selected 34th overall in the 2018 WNBA draft and spent time with the New York Liberty along with competing overseas. Today, she is crushing it in the corporate world where she has explored producing, consulting, and venture capital. Leslie lives in Los Angeles with her awesome fiance, but maybe one day we'll get her back to the East Coast. Yay! Okay, let's jump in. Leslie, can you tell us a bit more about your upbringing and the people around you that impacted you the most?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, I have an older brother, Avery, who is 4 years older than me, and our dad coached basketball. He started coaching, goodness, when I was relatively young. He coached in the high school, the local high school that we were in, the elementary school. And then from there went on to college coaching. So I have been around the game and just sports in general since I could walk. Between my brother playing various sports and me just wanting to do everything that he was doing, and then being around all my dad's teams, they were definitely two of the most influential people in terms of sports. With that, I mean, well, we actually grew up in Chicago. So first 10 years of my life were in Chicago. So a lot of our family friends also grew up playing sports, being fans of sports. So we everything that we did kind of revolved around sports. So it was just being around women who played sports. My mom ran marathons. She skied growing up. I had family who just loved being active. And so seeing a lot of strong role models who were into sports, into just bettering yourself, definitely made a huge impact on me.
So you grew up around basketball, but did you play other sports or it was just basketball from the start?
Yeah, from the start, I really played a bunch of different things. Soccer, as many kids did as young ones with AYSO, but then moving into travel soccer, played t-ball, moved into softball, played tennis occasionally, uh, did ballet very early, but then
Ballet.
stopped, and gymnastics. But then as I got older, so once I got to middle school, it was really softball, basketball that were kind of the main two. And then in high school, I basketball was really the priority. I played softball freshman year, played tennis senior year just for fun, and then also played volleyball freshman year just to try something new. But then it was really kind of sophomore year where it was like, okay, you have to start making the decision of if you want to play in college, you kind of have to specialize, unfortunately. And I'm sure we'll dive more into that. But that's when I decided, okay, I love the fast pace nature of basketball, softball, being outside. It was so weather dependent. So I just wanted to dive into basketball and did that and went in more into AAU in high school and ultimately found myself at Princeton with you.
Can you remember a specific time during that developmental age where, you started thinking about maybe playing in college and if there was any pressure around that decision?
Truthfully, I don't know if I really thought about it seriously, which may have been a good thing. Was it was never like the topic of conversation. yes, my dad had played in college, and my brother was thinking about playing in college, but it was never like in middle school or even elementary school was it, okay, you can play in college. So these are the specific things that you have to
Mm,
do. It was try everything, do everything. And it was maybe probably around like middle school, late middle school that it was, Candace Parker actually was a big role model in the sense that I wanna say that it was, like, middle school age where she was in college at Tennessee,
yeah.
and it was also at that time the Tennessee softball team was, like, incredible at that time, and me playing basketball and softball, I had this dream of, like, "I'm gonna go to Tennessee, I'm gonna play basketball and softball," like and it that was my thinking, but it was never like, "Okay, and this is what's gonna happen." It was just like, "Okay, both these sports are great. I love them, I play them, and both these teams are really good." But it was never the pressure wasn't there until a little bit later on.
When did you kinda have to make that decision, you think?
I would say it was really in high school, probably like freshman or sophomore year, I was playing AAU and playing travel softball. That was the time in which college coaches were reaching out. And, I had teammates who were getting a lot of looks. And that was more so the time in which, so because my brother's 4 years older, he had gone into college and kind of
Mm,
made that decision. And I want to say that we probably had a conversation, my dad, my mom, my stepmom, and I, and just tried to figure out, if you want to be serious and if you want to potentially play in college, you have to kind of make a decision now and figure out, where you want to spend your time. Because if you want to play in college, there's spring tournaments and that for basketball that would have, conflicted with softball that was in the springtime. So it was definitely kind of around that freshman sophomore year of high school where it was if you want to do this and you want to take it seriously, you kind of have to make a decision.
hmm. Now I can imagine your dad might have had a hard time just being a coach, seeing all of your potential. Also, he played and not only played, but succeeded and broke records at Princeton. So there's probably a little bias there also. But how do you think, looking back, how do you think he managed that? And, what just stands out to you about that time with him?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would say the main thing that he did, and continues to do is he let me come to the decision kind of on my own.
Mm,
Like he was not very he was like not that he was indecisive or didn't give straightforward answers. He met a lot of my questions, a lot of that conversation with more questions for me to
mhm.
answer for me. And I think that that was something, even if maybe if you asked him, he would have said, okay, I would have loved if, he would have told me, okay, basketball, you're really good at it, so do it.
Yeah.
Princeton's an amazing school. I went there, so go. But he really challenged me to make those decisions on my own. And that's something that I think while in the moment and as a 15-year-old, it was really, frustrating. And I was trying to figure out like, okay, I need answers. Like, and even to this day, I'm like, I need answers. Sometimes you want to just go to your parents and get an answer. But he let me come to that decision on my own in choosing basketball and then in choosing to play in college and then in choosing Princeton. And, looking back on it, it's amazing that I was able to follow in his footsteps, but it was really leading my own path and making my own decision, which ultimately I'm sure that's what he wanted. And thankfully that's where I landed.
He's the best, and so is your mama and your
Yeah.
stepmama, your whole family.
Thank-
Um, but so you get to Princeton. What were the biggest challenges when you were there, and how did you handle maybe some of those expectations that you had for yourself, but maybe others had as well?
That's a good question. I'm sure any of our teammates have a mix of similar answers, but also different answers. But I would say both academically and in basketball, you come from a high school. Most of us, it's a range of high schools, but you probably succeeded academically enough to be able to even be considered by Princeton and to be able to play in college. You succeeded in sports. And for me, it was both. And to go from having that success and getting that kind of reward for all the hard work that you're putting in, and then coming to a place where everyone else had that exact same experience, it was really hard because you're quickly humbled. And not only are you trying to find yourself as a person, first time for a lot of us, and for me specifically, first time living away from my parents. It was trying to make friends and find your place on the team, find your place as a non-athlete on the campus because, maybe you don't want that to be your entire identity. So there are so many different things that I was navigating, and to be quickly kind of hit in the face as you are maybe both literally and figuratively, but you go to practice and okay, yeah, you're 18 and you're practicing with some women who are 21, 22,
I
and
mean,
they
nowadays
are
too with the extra
right.
years.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, you're down in the post, and I was a post player in high school, and I'm kind of undersized, as Coach Banghart would often remind me. And now I'm with taller, stronger women who are just more experienced and smarter. It was a lot to navigate, and I think that it was thankfully, it was everyone was kinda going through it, and,
Yeah.
a lot of the underclassmen, we had each other to lean on, but also we had great leaders. So, yes, we had some of the older posts who would kinda teach us a lesson, but they would also be very kind about it, and they would help us through it, and, we had assistant coaches and support staff who were all very helpful, but it was definitely in the beginning, it was really hard. But I really just leaned on my teammates, my friends, and the understanding that we were all in this together. I would say that that's one thing that fortunately with basketball it being a team sport, we have one another to lean on, and everyone kind of made it a safe space to be able to talk through the hard times. And after coach yells at you, you can go and be like, oh, this is what coach said, but someone else may have experienced that exact same thing and can help you through it, or we can go get food afterwards and commiserate then. But really just leaned on the team and the support staff that we had.
I remember your gruesome ankle injury, but did you have any other injuries?
Yeah,
I think you had
I
a
mean,
few.
thankfully, the ankle was like the main thing in college, but I had in high school after playing volleyball and not really having the best mechanics. I had a shoulder injury
Mm.
where
Oh, yeah.
that my shoulder dislocated. And then,
Yes.
yeah, it was the summer before sophomore year, my ankle dislocated. Crazy and, like, very random thing. Like, I thought that it had twisted,
Ugh.
but it dislocated, and yeah, that was such a bizarre injury. But thankfully, those were really, like, the main 2, and while they would give me kind of aches and pains afterwards, like, I was still able to play. And even that sophomore season, by the time it was our first game, I was able to play.
Well, I remember you just working incredibly hard. We could always look to you as a leader, even when I was still there a year older than you. It was kind of like your work ethic, your leadership in terms of leading by example, but also, being that loud voice, telling everyone when to get together. And, we just look to you. But I can imagine that as you went from freshman year and kind of changed your role into more of a leader junior, senior year, that adds its own type of pressure. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think, and truthfully, haven't really had to think about it since then, but, thanks to you, I'm able to think about it now. But I think when you're younger and can provide leadership in a way or a voice, it's easier almost to be able to do it because there is less pressure, right?
Right.
Like you can support people, but the team maybe isn't relying on you, right? Like it's nice that you're able to do it, but the pressure of, okay, well, I could say it, but I may not be able I might not be the one that has to make the shot or do the thing, but I can still support everyone. And then it come junior and senior year, it's like, okay, yes, I can be the voice, but you also kind of have to be the one doing the thing. So that was definitely a lot of pressure. And it was coming into my own of, okay, I know what it takes to get there, but then it's making it come to fruition. And it was definitely pressure because not only are you changing internally, but the team is changing, right? Like you have different leaders, you have different people in different positions, you have different coaches, the curriculum is different in school. So, how we have to manage the off the court stuff and the on the court stuff, people get injured. So many things change. And so, it's not only living up to your own kind of internal expectations, but it is okay, we had success. I mean, my freshman year, we went 31-1. And so it was, okay, then the next year, how are you living up to that? And then it's junior year, okay, you all had great leadership the last 2 years. What are you gonna do? And then it's senior year, it's like, how are you gonna finish your career here? So
Mhm.
it was definitely a lot of pressure, but I will maintain that consistently through it all, it was leaning on those next to me and, people in my class with T in Kenya, but then also above and below me. And it was being able to, as I got older, recognize the individuals on the team and their special powers,
Mm.
right? And being able to say, okay, yeah, you are very vocal. You're very, whatever it is, and identify that in people so that they can help me for lack of a better kind of term or
Mhm.
situation. It is recognizing that in other people to help me be the leader that I could be kind of that junior and senior year.
I mean, that's great advice for coaches, but also for leaders in the corporate world or any situation you're in. It's like, okay, let me take a step back and look at all the tools and people that I have to help me. And we were really lucky that Coach Banghart recruited such awesome teammates who are now, our best friends. Aside from recognizing that, and I think that's very mature of you to have recognized that at that time, but can you think of any other tools that you used or that maybe some of the upperclassmen taught you, coaches taught you while you were in it?
One thing that I am still grateful for and try and implement in life, even outside of basketball, is I feel like, especially the junior class, that was my freshman class. So that's Annie and Taylor and Wheats Mish, Amanda, was being a family, like outside of the court. And taking that time, like, even if we had a bad practice, it was like, let's order pizza and hang out. And that was something that I really, really tried to do once I was a junior and senior, was even if, we were busy with school, it was encouraging the team to be a team and to be together and to lean on each other. Because yes, it's easy to, replay really the bad things that happen in a game, in a practice, and think about it over and over and over, and then try and fix it and stay late after practice and work on it and work on it and work on it. But at some point, you kind of have to give yourself a break. And that's something that even today with work, or just life, it's, you might have a tough conversation, or you might get bad feedback or whatever it may be. And sometimes you have to take yourself away from the situation, recharge your battery, be around people you love, laugh at stupid jokes, whatever it may be, and then be able to go back to the thing and then fix it. Similarly, it would be just at the end of the day, like, unfortunately or fortunately, none of it is that serious. Like, that is something that even today with work, it's like, truthfully, no one's life is on the line for the stuff that we're doing.
Well, and you have a
Um,
lot of perspective too.
Exactly. So my fiance is a resident at the Children's Hospital here in LA, and she's literally, her day to day, life and death. There's kids who are sick, and I hear those stories, and to be able to take that step back and to have that perspective, I think that that's what a lot of the leaders that I had have done and have taught me, and have really tried to lean in to that as I just continue through life.
Yeah, I mean, words of wisdom. I could always look to you for some perspective in life, and you always put a smile on my face, and I know your teammates and your family too. So, after a very successful college career, you went on to play professionally. What did you learn about yourself during that time?
Oh my goodness, so many things. One, like playing professionally and just being around people who had played professionally. So I mean, even going to training camp, with the Liberty, and then, another summer I went for a couple weeks to play with the Sky, being around other people, seeing their work ethic, but also being on your own and having to kind of fend for yourself. So at training camps, but then also overseas, right? Like you're going to a completely different country by yourself, no family, no friends until hopefully make friends there, which I was lucky to do. But so much of that time is now that the sport that you've loved and you've poured into, that was kind of a hobby for lack of a better term, has turned into a job. And I mean, at that time it turned into a job post college, but now for student athletes, I truthfully don't even know how their lives look because it's a job. Even high schoolers, it's a job,
Right.
right? But it really teaches you how to pour into yourself. And at
Mm,
some times, you do have to be selfish and you have to do what's best for you. And I think that that's something that playing professionally taught me. When it is a job, like, not everyone is looking out for you and your best interest. And you have to find the ways to maintain all the same things that you did in college. And for me, it was that community. It was coming together as a team. It was finding the moments to step back. It was
mhm.
going to the local bakery and reading a book. It was doing those little things and being comfortable with that. I think that that was another thing that in college, thankfully, I mean, you lived with your best friends, right?
Yeah.
And even junior year, I lived with Tia in Kenya. Senior year, I lived in Cannon, our eating club, and a bunch of our friends would come there for dinner every night. So almost 80% of the day I was with people that I loved and cared about. But when you're overseas or you're playing professionally, there are times where you're just by yourself and you kind of have to get comfortable with that. And now I can go to the movie by myself, I can go to dinner by myself, I can do those things. And as I get older too, I think that that's something that is necessary, right? It's yes, I've got loving family and friends and a partner, and but sometimes you need to kind of be with your own thoughts and figure out what's best for you. And that's something that I learned from playing professionally that I will hopefully take, from today to all my next days to really make sure that I'm taking care of myself and pouring into myself.
And then when did you decide, okay, it's time to enter enter the real world? What kind of pushed you in that direction and where did you go from there?
I would say, and to give people kind of a timeline, so I graduated college in 2018. I played overseas for 2 years, and 2020, COVID, was the
Ooh.
season and the year in which I stopped playing. I have this conversation a lot. I've got 2 younger brothers who are interested in playing sports in college and potentially professionally. I have younger cousins and family friends and all these people in my life, and what I say to them the most is, "You don't wanna miss out on life because of sports." And for years, I missed holidays, and especially with basketball being a winter sport, you've got tournaments during the holidays, you've got a bunch of things, practices, you have to stay in shape, you can't always leave, and I just missed a lot. And then being overseas, and thankfully my family was able to visit me, but that's not a reality for everyone, right? And it was just like after a long time of missing a lot of things and wanting to just be around family and friends, I that in conjunction with my body just hurting when I woke up and,
That'll do
being
it.
sore and stiff, it was like, "All right, I think it's time to hang up the shoes." I wanna be able to pick up my kids if I'm so lucky to have kids, and just enjoy life and find myself outside of sport. I mean, to my earlier point, I've only known sports truthfully my entire life, and
Right.
it was in 2020 that I was like, I think I think it's time to figure out who I am without athlete being attached to that.
Right.
And that was kind of that inflection point. Since then, yeah, I think about it and I miss it and I, miss putting in the hard work, but what came from it and the friendships and the just the memories,
Uh,
that is the most important thing. And I'm just lucky that I have that.
I mean, it must have been a very hard decision if you were thinking of it that way. Like, okay, I am basically starting from scratch without this very big chunk of my life. But to all the points you've made before, it sounds like you had great perspective and an understanding of who you were, and you were forming that along the way. I think you probably knew who you were a lot more than maybe some other people because you were able to take a step back in all of these different moments that you were in. And then where did you decide to take your professional career? Professional in the in the sense of the real corporate world.
It took some time, and it was kind of a blessing and a curse, that COVID happened. So I came home March 2020, and I had plenty of time to just sit and think. And, I was home with my family, and my little brothers were in school, and my dad was working, and I was just waking up and trying to figure out life. And it just, it led me to be able to just be with my inner thoughts. And thankfully, to my point of playing and being alone, it was more time to journal and think and feel and all the things. And I just look back onto, what am I interested in? Like, what do I like? What brings me joy?
Mm.
And, as a sociology major at Princeton, as someone who's always been really interested in TV and film, as an athlete, obviously, but also as someone who loves academic rigor and being challenged. I have, what year is it? It's 2026 already. In the nearly 8 years since graduating college, I have done a host of things professionally that have led or have lended to the history of and the experience that I've had. I trained and coached kids for a little bit of time, kind of during COVID. I then worked in documentary TV and film. So that
Well,
was very much so
she was
the
a big time producer on the 37 Words ESPN documentary, which, if you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend. So,
Thank you. Yes, that was a labor of love, that project, and to not only find the production company, but the team, and to be a part of that project was, I mean, it was amazing. It was literally all my worlds coming together at
yeah.
once, and I absolutely loved working on that project and learned so much as well. And then after that, I worked in consulting. I had heard a lot of people talk about it, and I was like, "Oh, let me try this out." Didn't love it, but it taught me more about what I do and don't want, taught me some skills that I've now taken into this venture capital private equity space that I'm currently in. And all the while, I have taken these nuggets of knowledge and experience and friendships and all the things into work today. It's just like after I hurt my ankle and I was needed to work on my ball handling and I couldn't run, it was okay, you're getting up and you're focusing on the thing that you need to practice. And now I'm learning completely new skill in kind of the financial space, and it's getting up and working on the skills that you need to work on because you maybe already have the other skills, right? And I literally have said to myself the same things that I said to myself in college, where come early, stay late, all the things that have been imparted on me. And it's really, I mean, sometimes I don't want to say it's laughable, but it's just funny how the
Yeah.
world works, right? It's like,
Full
oh my
circle.
goodness, it's a completely full circle moment. And in those moments, it's like, oh wow, like I can do this, right? Because I've done something very similar to this in the
Mm.
past. And I, you know, am just forever grateful for the experiences that I've had, the coaches that I've had, the mentors, the captains, the everyone, because it's made me who I am today.
To your point about, and I say this too to, even high schoolers, but college kids who are trying to find an internship or a job and they're like, I have no experience. All I do is play my sport. I'm like, that is the most incredible experience ever. take a look at all of the skills and the tools that you've gained through that experience and see how it totally applies to the real world and the working world, and even just being able to be a great teammate. That goes such a long way. It's just taking what you've learned and what you've experienced and applying that to your current situation. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, and you're just taking every experience as it comes and being a sponge. And I think that's a awesome trait to have and that I look up to. You mentioned that you have your younger brothers and you know some people who are interested in playing at the next level. What's your advice for parents whose kids are aiming to compete at the highest level?
My advice for parents whose kids are looking to play at the highest level is, one, give your kids some grace. Like, as previously coaching and training kids, many of these kids who are striving to play at the next level have plenty of pressure on themselves, added pressure from parents, in addition to whatever, coaches, trainers, or anyone else is putting on them, to me, in my opinion, is not necessary. And for me, it was my dad just throwing back the question to me and helping me think through things. And I think that that's something that parents can and should do for their kids, because at the end of the day, it is more important to have that self assurance and security in yourself. And that will help them grow more than the pressure of, I don't know, shooting 80% plus from the free throw line or whatever the pressure is that is placed on them. So I would just say give your kids some grace and show them that you love them regardless. Because I think that that is something that, in talking to, kids, friends, whoever it may be, that pressure, has negatively impacted them. And it's those little moments and those little things that can really help them kind of get over that line if they do make it to that next step. But at the end of the day, they're people, and you want them to be good people, not necessarily the amazing athlete that you would hope that they could be, or that you are wanting them to be.
I fully agree with that. And then lastly, one piece of advice, if you can remember, you received from a coach that has stuck with you.
I would say one piece of advice from a coach that I have received that helped me then and continues to help me now is to trust your gut. And that's one thing that, deep down, and to kind of this entire conversation, you know yourself better than really anyone else. And if something doesn't feel good, if something does feel good, lean into that. Even if it is an injury, right? And you don't think that you should be playing, listen to yourself. If you think that you should speak up and on your behalf, on your teammates' behalf, you should do that. If you think that this is the right pass, lean into that. If you think that, this is the right decision to make in life, lean into it. And that's something that I've tried to do and received when I was in college. And shout out to Coach Flo for that sage advice. But she always gave me that reassurance and told me to trust myself. And I appreciate her for that every day.
Oh, she's the best. Love
She's the
you, Coach
best.
Flo. I gotta get her on here. No, thank you so much, Leslie. As I said in the beginning, I always ask myself, what would Leslie do? What would Leslie say? Seriously, you are one of those people that have been such an awesome teammate and friend. And I'm so lucky our listeners get to hear from you and learn from you. Where can they find you?
Where can you find me? I'm not so active on social media, but if you want to follow me on Instagram, at less is more underscore less underscore is more 45. I'm not hip. I'm almost 30 and I don't know what the kids are doing. Feel free to reach out. You can email me. Jackie can give you my information. Would love to lend a helping hand to whoever, however. And if you're in LA, let me know.
Thanks, Leslie. Love
Of
you.
course. Love you.